Good morning, guys. We're here at House of Light. Well, we're actually filming it at the house above at the moment. I'm here with Sally again to talk a little bit more about Learning Love, the model I teach, and find intimacy in your life, with yourself, with your partners, with your children, with the people around you, and with life in general.
Exactly. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. It's good to have you back. You've been away, haven't you, Adrian?
Yeah.
In
that's right.
Italy.
Yeah.
Maybe you'd like to tell us a little bit about what you were moving through in Italy and what was happening on that retreat.
Yeah, sure. So I went over to spend 2 weeks with Christian Amana. They run the Learning Love Institute. They created this model. They teach it extensively around the world, all over Europe, America, China, Russia, Bali, all over the place. I first found them 17, 18 years ago teaching in Costa Rica. So I went to spend some more time with them. I do every year, go and spend a little bit of time at least in the skills training and re-enveloping myself in the work and finding out more about it.
'Cause it's a continual journey, isn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah, it certainly is. But this time I went to assist on Learning Love 1, which is one of their basic courses, which is a 5-day retreat. And then I went on to participate in a relatively new retreat they do called Abandonment, Loss and Jealousy.
Whoa, that's covering the wounds, isn't it?
Yeah.
The big ones.
So there were 2 5-day retreats with a couple of days in between, and that was held at Maiasto, Osho Maiasto. It's an Osho centre, a community there that runs a big retreat centre, and we did the work there. So yeah, it was great to go and be with a large group of people who were over 30 on the first retreat, over 50 on the second.
And was it like a global gathering, or was it mainly people from Europe, or?
A lot of Italians
Yeah.
being in Italy, so there were a lot of locals, but yeah, very international.
Fantastic.
People from all over.
Everyone coming together to
Yeah.
move into their self-discovery and their healing.
That's right, yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. And to be in that space where people are doing various meditations through the day. Every morning there's a meditation, every afternoon, every evening there's different meditations going on, as well as the teaching, learning, the exercises we go through, the guided meditations that Christian Amana take us through. So quite full days. You're starting at 7 in the morning, and often we're going through till 11 at night.
Whoa, gosh.
Obviously with space in between, but yeah, it was. But for me it was extraordinary because I had all that going on, but I didn't have 2 small children. I didn't have my head being sort of pedalled awake at 7 in the morning by tiny feet. So.
Oh, you could say there was no distraction.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
There was no out.
Yeah, there was no way out. No, there's definitely no way out. Yeah, yeah.
So did you find yourself moving through more of your own processes, or were you mainly holding space for others?
The first week I was mainly holding space for others, but I found that very interesting because I was assisting on Learning Love 1, and I've assisted on other retreats, but I've never assisted this one. So I first participated in it 17 years ago in this particular week, and it was fascinating for me to, because when you're assisting you are also taking part and going in, but you are also holding space and checking that the room's right, and if somebody needs support you're there, so you don't go so deeply in. But I found it it was great to be reminded of how those exercises, those meditations and those teachings, how they it brought back to me how extraordinary they were the first time round, and it blew me off my feet the first time round. I was like, just for instance, a certain way through the week you've done a little bit of theory on our childhood wounds and how they play out as protection, and how as an adult then when we try to go into a relationship we sabotage it, or we push it away, or for very good reasons, because
of the wounds that we've
so we're looking a little bit at that. And then one of the exercises is all the women stand on one side of the room and all the men stand on the other side of the room, And it doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is,
Yes.
but you can, that's irrelevant. But you have the practice of feeling what it's like to go and ask somebody to spend time with you. So you choose a person and you step out and you walk across and you stand in front of them and you say, I would like to spend some time with you. Would you like to spend some time with me? And they feel into their body and
Yes.
give an honest answer, yes or no.
Wow.
And so both people, you have to take the challenge to ask, which some people never do,
Yes.
do they? They wait
Yeah.
for someone to come.
Yep.
So there's that. Then you have to feel what it feels like if the person says no, and there's the abandonment. There it is.
Gosh.
It's a simple thing. There's nothing else going on.
Yeah.
Just to ask to spend some time, and for the other person to be honest and actually say no if they don't want to, which lots of us
huge.
can't.
Yes.
You can't do it. Oh my God, what upset somebody? You know, you can't do it. So. Simple, very simple practice. There's more to it, more to that exercise. But when we ran this in Italy this time, I remembered doing that the first time in Costa Rica. And when I stood in front of this row of women, and I've always got on very well with women. I've always had loads of women friends. I feel very confident around them. And I used to be quite a tart back in those days before I'd got married. So I felt very this, I've got no problem.
Yeah.
But in that space, when I'd opened up and I was actually paying attention to what my body was telling me, to stand in front of this row of women that all those years ago, it was extraordinary.
Yeah.
It was horrific in a way. There was so much attraction to pull forward and also an absolute terror to run away.
And
at the same time, really incredible.
Yeah. And do you do it sort of like by one? Is it like so the whole room is watching you approach, or is it
the first time you tapped on the shoulder when it's your turn to go? So people are going all at the same time, coming and going. It's milling around, and if you ask somebody and they say yes, you take them by the hand and you just go and sit somewhere and you have a chat.
Yeah.
But somebody else can come then if the person that they would have asked has already been asked and is sitting with someone else, they come over and say the same question. So then that person's got the choice, I want to go with this one, but can I leave this one?
Yeah.
And you've just taken responsibility for your own feelings.
Yes.
A simple little exercise like this, so powerful.
Simple but deep.
And they really start to help us see that's what's going on in my everyday life. I can't ask, or I can't say no, or when I'm rejected, I go into this spiral of shame, which you can start to see clearly. When I rejected, I fall apart, say, for 3 weeks, but there's no reason, there's nothing wrong there, actually, apart from my beliefs about myself that I'm carrying. So it gives you an opportunity. So many times through the week, I was like, I remember experiencing this for the first time. And it being...
And I suppose if you're on the line, or you're on the line of women and nobody comes to want to spend time with you, it works that way as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's all there. And just the risk, just standing in that line in the first place, you can see people getting really activated, really like... Because
you're putting yourself out there, aren't you?
Before anything starts, they're starting thinking, oh my God, I might have to ask somebody, or I might have to say no, or I might be rejected, or I might not be chosen.
Yes.
Any of those things can be, and some of them, for some people, are not triggering at all, but there's usually a trigger in there. Yeah.
So did you notice a difference? Did you participate in that exercise this time?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
Yeah.
How did it feel for you?
It was... a whole load easier. I remember that last time round, the first time, I was really shocked the first time round how strong an impact it was to stand and see my relation to female energy, the attraction, and yet massive amounts of fear because of my upbringing. So. And what and the attraction, the drawing in, what is that? And is it a need to please? Because with me it definitely was, or not upset. You see, there was the thought of upsetting a woman used to be absolutely abhorrent to me because I grew up with an upset, angry mum. So that was like the be all and end all, was to not upset and to please or to somehow pacify a woman if she's in my life, if she's angry. And that's moved now. I'm now, okay, I have to hold myself,
yes.
you know, I have to go, but I can hold a line and just say, no, this is my truth. And it's okay if they're upset. It's not my responsibility. But exercises like this bring that up. You can start to see.
They really do.
Yeah.
They really do. And I guess in those sort of environments, everyone's aware that you're all moving through it together, but as an individual too.
Yeah.
So, but there's the honour and the respect.
And there's the support that if that brings up something, you know, you're in a very supportive place where you can sit and you got the space to work it out and the time.
And that's what you're there for, really, isn't it? Is to heal these wounds and to be more comfortable
and learning
with
about yourself. I mean, you learn so much about yourself by doing that. Like, you know, I mean, like, really, that's what struck me. It took me back to 17 years ago where I didn't really know. I just didn't know myself. I had no idea that there was that interaction would have been going on for me all the time in my day-to-day life. But to take it in a setting where I'd already done some sitting and some meditating and some dancing and getting the energy moving and learning a little bit about it, and then being asked to stand there in front of a line of women and see what it just feels like. Whoa. So I learned about myself, and that's why I've continued doing it. I'm fascinated with how that is. Yeah.
I'm curious about knowing more about other processes, or I don't want to say like scenarios, because they're not, because they're healing experiences, aren't they? What other sort of...
Well, another one I found really struck me this time. Krish was talking about the 2 mountains we have to climb if we want genuine intimacy in our lives, to really have a good, vibrant, growthful, intimate relationship. And the first mountain, which is what we were concentrating for the whole of that first week on, because the second one really comes later. The first mountain is to awaken that wish for another person. So, and to do that, you can't do that hypothetically or in your head. You have to allow somebody in. So you have to allow yourself to meet somebody that you want, to have that feeling like, I want to be close to you. So to open to that need, which is universal, we all do want to connect. Some people may be able to go and sit in a cave on their own for 30 years and meditate, great, but we're born with an instinctive wish to connect. So you to open to that, and a lot of people are very protected from that. They find all sorts of tricks, like being permanently busy with work, or never going out, or putting themselves in situations where they can't meet a partner, or
and that's consciously and subconsciously, isn't it?
Yeah, mostly subconsciously. Or always choosing unavailable people that are already taken, or that you can't. So opening to that space, opening to that wish to become close, but at the same time not expecting anything from that person. Now this is nearly impossible, because our expectations from our partners come from what was missing when we were kids. If we weren't really seen at some points in our life, and we felt that, we want our partner to see us. Look at the painting I've done, or look at the house I've built, or look at the car I drive. That needs to be seen. And but these expectations, they're childhood expectations. They don't belong in an adult relationship, and they sabotage the relationship. That's when it goes a bit icky, when your partner's coming to you with the need for you to see them, hear them, give them attention, and it's not coming from their adult. It's coming from the wounded place in them that didn't get fed when they were young.
Okay.
So there's this balance here of opening up to somebody, and when we open up to somebody, of course, what happens is our expectations come. She's going to make me happy. She will always make me a cup of tea and have a kind word for me when I come in from work. But for the honeymoon period, that might work. But sooner or later, this other person will do things that disappoint us. Because they have their own stuff going on. And so when we're disappointed, we know, this is another thing that came up with it, disappointment and expectation go hand in hand.
Yes.
One's not possible without
Without
the
the
other. So if I'm disappointed in my relationship, I have to own that I have expectations. And it does me well to work on that and look at what my expectations are and really take the time maybe to list them, to really look at them. What would I like in a partner? And then own them all, take them all back. And we do a lot of work on this. Seeing how we project those expectations onto our partners or would-be partners or our future partners, or that we have done with our exes, and then consciously choose to take that back and own those expectations are my childhood needs. It's not realistic for me to expect anyone to fulfill all of that for me, not anybody outside of myself. So that was really interesting to re-look at the basics of that. That's the start, is opening to that, taking the risk to open to somebody.
Absolutely.
You know, and some people even manage to get into relationships without risking that. They're very almost like a business, like a relationship where they fit the patterns, who's going to do what jobs, and they can bring kids up, and there might not be intimacy there, real intimacy, because they don't really take the risk to open. So opening, but then dealing with the fact that what you expect from them, you can't get from them. You have to bring it back to yourself, and fulfill that yourself.
My goodness. And it was 2 weeks that you were away? So it's a 2-week retreat experience, or was it?
No, it was so 5 days learning love, learning love 1. That was that I was assisting on. Then we had 2 days break, and then 5 days of abandonment, loss, and jealousy. And even, I mean, for me, the process of getting to Italy and back, triggered heaps for me, because to travel now, you have to fill in so many more forms. There's locator forms, and you have to get tested, and you have to and to find out what you need is very difficult. And my childhood experience of that is I'm very dyslexic. That wasn't recognised when I was a kid. So I have this horrible negative trauma of going through education, being shouted at for being stupid and lazy, because I couldn't read and write, I couldn't understand anything, but nobody said, oh, you're dyslexic, you need help with that. It was just really, so for me, it particularly comes out with form filling. Reading I'm good with now, and I can write stories or letters, okay, but forms just go wrong, because it triggers me so badly that I just go into panic, because it's the sort of thing that would have been there was just a horrible experience for me, because it would go wrong when I was young, and then I would be blamed for it and shamed for it and sent to the back of the class, and my parents would always side with the teachers, because that's how it was done those days. They were always right, we were always wrong, and all of that stuff. So when it comes to trying to get on a flight today, for me, it's horrific. And you'll notice, because you helped me out, I'm like, what tests do I need? How do I look it up online? And then even you come back to me, well, here's some links, because you can't find out either, because nobody will tell you what you need. I can feel it now going, and
I'm feeling it now.
And then I'm trying to fill in a locator form, and that then needs the flight number. So I have to go out of there and into somewhere else to try and find into emails to find my flight number. And I'm going to come back to the form, and they've wiped it clean. You have to start again. This sort of thing. And for me, I had to go through that. It was so triggering for me, and one after another. Also, not knowing whether, even if I do all of these, whether I've got it right and I'll be allowed on the flight, because it's not actually very clear. Seems to be made. To me, it seems like they're on purpose making it impossible. But of course, they're not. It's just that's a trigger for me.
So you got over to Italy already.
Oh yeah,
triggered. Open.
And the day before I left, I was here, and we had friends visiting, and I was supposed to be packing and organising bus to Madrid and that. And I went right out. I couldn't speak to anyone. I couldn't pack my bag. I just found myself sat at the table, unable to look up the bus times or the train times. I just went into shock. The enormity of having to jump through these abstract hoops. As a
yeah.
dyslexic, that's difficult. I'm very good with real stuff. I
Yes,
can
yeah.
picture architectural plans, I can look at them and I can see the whole building in 3D.
Yeah.
That I can do. I can quantify stuff very well. But abstract stuff like form fitting.
Yeah.
different.
But there's also, I've noticed this before from when I used to run retreats, is that a lot of people move through their triggers and processes before the retreat.
Yeah,
and you'll get
absolutely.
messages or phone calls saying, oh, I'm not sure if I'm going to come because this has happened or that's happened, or I'm not feeling right about it. And it's actually really common because that energy has already started to shift.
Yeah.
So even though you're not officially doing the work, you're already,
started,
you've actually already started.
That's right.
And I always find that really fascinating, that the healing, which is in fact, the healing isn't always like, ta-da! It's actually facing a lot of your triggers and your wounds. You don't actually have to be in the retreat for it to start. You just have that intention. You've set that intention, and then there's the chance for the self-sabotage and the distraction and oh no, I can't come out. So hats
collapsing.
off. Yes.
Giving up. I mean,
I
nearly did last year when
you.
I went. I actually cancelled at one point because I couldn't get a test done here, and then they said they didn't get it done there. Yeah, I went through it, and yes, we noticed this, especially assisting as the crew.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the first retreat, that was part of the difficulty. There were all these regulations about masks on or off in the hall. You had to wear socks, and of course some people really wanted that, and some people really didn't want that.
Yeah.
So that whole routine took a couple of days to calm down. More people going to the work, and then it started all over again the second week.
Yeah.
Except that time I wasn't on the team, so I could just sit back and watch the team trying to deal with.
Yes.
Do you police this, or do you, what? How far do you go with it before it takes away from the work you're doing? Interesting. There's so much triggers going on at the moment with travel.
Absolutely.
Any form of travel is bringing you
And
down.
was it couples coming, or was it single people? Was there a mix? Or?
It's a mix. There's a mix. I think there's only one couple in the first week, which I was surprised about. I mean, it very much is work that you can do individually or as a couple. I've never been. I have been once as a couple, and it is interesting to that way, because while you're learning about yourself, you're learning. Your partner gets to see you going there, so you get to know each other well. That's useful. But it's either way, it doesn't matter really. It's great to do on your own. Great to do with your partner.
Yeah.
There's certain exercises which you're recommended not to do with your partner, so that you have space, because it's going to inhibit you to really go there.
Yes.
For instance, your expectations. That when you're looking at those, it's better to work with somebody you don't know, who represents either your partner you have now or one you would ideally wish to have.
Yes.
And you can list all the expectations you would have.
Yeah.
Now you might not want to do that with your actual partner, because you would be inhibited to say what you really want from them.
Yeah.
And it's important for you to really go there with what you want, because ultimately what you're finding out is I have to take care of this. I'm never going to find it out there.
It's not down to somebody else.
Yeah.
No.
But if your partner sat with you, you're not going to be so honest.
No, and there is always going to be that. Well, I say there's always going to be, but if you really connected with yourself, maybe there isn't. But there's always going to be that. I don't want to upset them, or the people pleasing, or you'll find yourself saying something just because it's going to keep the peace, or they want to hear it.
And then, of course, the
shame. And then why are you there? Yes,
the
shame.
I mean, the shame of saying, actually, I would love a partner that does this, or does that for me, or doesn't do this. Or,
And you're going back to Italy?
I am,
Yes.
I'm going back in 2 weeks. If I can get through the forms.
Which you can.
I'm more confident now. I can do this. I go back to do the Learning Love Skills training, which is specifically for those of us that are teachers and therapists in the Learning Love Institute. So I've been going every year for, 3 or 4 years now, or longer. And I love that work, because everybody there has done a lot of work with Krishnamana, and usually lots of work in other disciplines, and is deep in the process. So there's quite a quality to just being around that many people who know themselves and are interested in going that far into this work. There's usually over 50 people on that one.
That's a huge number, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow, there's lots of experience in there.
Yeah, fascinating people, and it feels like a family as well.
That's lovely.
It really is. To come into that kind of atmosphere and spend is a treat.
And and what do you see for the future for yourself? How do you see Learning Love taking you forward, or are you sharing it? And
well, one of the reasons I went this time, one of the things I wanted to get out of it was to pay more attention to the structures that Krishnamana used during the retreats, because when I participate, I notice particularly me, when I participate in a structure or a retreat, I really go in there deep. I lose myself in it, and when I come out the other side, I have no idea what the structure was or who was doing what.
You were just in the process.
I just go into the feelings and experience what it brings up for me. So by assisting, it was very useful to have that little bit of space to remind myself of these structures, some of which I'd completely forgotten. So, and with a view to teaching more, to running more retreats here, and being able to offer more Learning Love teaching, basically. Because I feel confident now in holding the space and running the groups, and I understand the model from practicing it. But the structures, they've got beautiful, very simple structures, like the one I described there, that just in that environment, it's very different. You see, doing sessions with somebody once a week, you're working with somebody, but the rest of the time they're in their day-to-day life. So they, by very nature, they go back into protection. And this work is about noticing when we go into protection and choosing to step back and feeling the feelings that we would protect ourselves from. But there's not so much space in our day-to-day life. And when somebody comes on, say, a 5-day retreat, and they're in a retreat centre and they don't have the phone calls and the boss and the mortgage and the partner and the children, they have the space. It goes, and you have these meditations, early morning meditations, supporting that work, really supporting to open you up. A lot of them are moving meditations. There's dance involved, just to get into the body, and so you really you open up to an extent that doesn't happen in your day-to-day life. So you can really start to investigate what's going on for you, and that in that environment, these structures are very powerful. Just having two people stand opposite ends of the room, and one has the choice to say, come, stop, go back, come, stop, and really feeling into their body, how close do I want to allow this energy to come to me? About something as simple as that can be profound.
And especially because generally when you go on a retreat, you may go with a friend or something, but the rest of the group, they are strangers, aren't they? So it magnifies it even more, because you're thrown into an environment where you haven't got the security of a friendship or knowing that person or them knowing you, so you really are opening up to
well, also with the work, you tend to find by the end of the week it's an incredible connection between everybody, and so you can very quickly find yourself in a friendship or a connection with someone that's far deeper than you often have with old mates, because a lot of our old friends, how much we love a really good old friendship often is built on we've got an unwritten agreement here to stay behind our protection. So I'll pretend to be like this and you pretend to be like that, and we won't challenge each other. That's what a good friendship is, isn't it? And also a good friendship challenges you a bit and just supports you and can listen to you and help, but generally we have vested interests in each other. We all do in our life. So to be in an environment where there isn't vested interest and you're actually there for that is, it's great. The other thing I find fascinating with it, which I noticed the first time I went to them, was to see how I remember very clearly what happened was when I first went, the first morning we were sharing, one woman had been very triggered by something a guide said. I can't remember any of the details, but she was very triggered by what he said, and Christian Minor helped her go in and feel into it. And I remember sitting there thinking, God, I'm glad I hadn't said that, because it wasn't, whatever it wasn't particularly bad, but it had upset her.
Yeah.
And it was the sort of thing I could have easily said.
Yeah.
You know, a comment or a joke or something.
Yes,
And I thought,
yeah.
I'm glad it's not me in the hot spot, because I thought he was going to get roasted for it.
Yeah.
You know. But of course, the charge, the energy was with her. She was upset about what he said, and when they talked to her more about it, it turned out, yes, this is how her husband makes her feel.
Okay.
And actually, that's how her previous husband had made her feel.
Yeah.
So very quickly, it became apparent that this guy that she didn't know from Adam, she'd only met him the night before, but he'd managed to trigger in her something that she'd been holding since childhood.
Yeah.
And for me, that was like, that's
Wow.
so fascinating, because generally we think it is our partner, don't we? We think, I married
yes.
the wrong woman.
Damn.
If only she would do this, and it's because of them.
Yes.
But this work helps us see, no, I'm carrying this.
Yes.
So whoever you put me with, if I'm unconscious, I will project it onto them. I'll wind them up in some way. I'll create a situation that it comes back to prove to myself that the universe is hostile, or that
Nobody
women
will
or
love
men
me,
are all
or-
like this, or that authorities are always like this,
Yeah.
or for me, authorities are not to be trusted. You know.
Yes.
I know I carry that from childhood, but it doesn't mean to say I can let go of
Yes.
it, but I can work with it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can move through it now.
Yeah. Well, I can just own it. You know, it doesn't mean I can't get rid of it, but I can see that triggered inside me, and I can parent that part of me that starts feeling like it's not safe. They're all a
Yes.
bunch of bastards.
Yes. Yeah,
all
yeah.
of that stuff. And I can be responsible for that part of me, which is a child state.
Yes. Yeah.
And then still relate to the outside world from my adult. Yeah.
Great stuff.
Some of the time.
So I can see we've got a couple of people watching. If you've got any questions for Adrian, just pop them in the comments. Equally, if you're watching the replay, do feel that you can just tag House of Light into the comments with any of your questions, and we'll get back to you.
And while I was over there, I did an interview with Christian Amana. So obviously it wasn't live, and so I recorded it, and I'm editing it a little bit, and so I'll put that up on our, well, no, I'll be truthful about this. Sally will put that up on, because I don't know how to do it. Sally will put that up on our YouTube channel.
On our
will it go?
YouTube channel, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
That's great. That was really lovely to have a really good chat
Yeah.
with Christian Amana about.
And we can put it up in our blog as well on the website.
Yeah.
So all
Brilliant.
bases are covered. You can be able
Yeah.
to find it anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. So, is there anything else you want to share at this moment?
No, nothing
We're-
particularly
we're all
comes to
good.
mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward
Unless
to
anybody's got anything they want to ask about.
nothing coming through so far.
No.
So-
Well, that should do us for today then,
That
shouldn't
should
it?
do us, yes.
Until next time.
Until next time. Well, I look forward to hearing how the skills training went, and the skills and the practices that you're going to be bringing back to share. And again, if anyone wants to know more about Learning Love with Adrian, or to have any sessions, just reach out to us at House of Light,
Yeah.
and we'd love to hear from you.
Thanks, Sally.
Thanks, Adrian.
Thanks
Thanks
for
everyone,
listening.
and we look forward to seeing you again sometime. Thank you.
Bye.